Hello everyone. Hey guys, welcome to Ask IITians. This is Manish Nihalani, your mathematics mentor. So today we would be talking about the very interesting chapter in mathematics, that is linear equations in two variables from grade 9, right? And you all know that wherever you go to a shop or to buy something or to something, this chapter is going to help you in every aspect. This is how important it is. So we would be starting off with this, and there will be a lot of interesting things to learn in this chapter. But before that, I want to tell you all that it's a very important chapter from your final examination perspective as well, because you all can see the CBSE weightage for this, basically this chapter is about 6 to 7 marks. Now this is not exact 6 or exact 7, because usually इसमें से एक graph is observed, but if that graph is coming from statistics chapter in the final exam, then this comes for like 6 marks, otherwise this is for 7 marks. So it depends graph is coming from which chapter. Graph is coming from statistics, graph is coming from linear equations in two variables, but overall this is a very simple chapter. मतलब एकदम straight to go, good to go, and a simple and straightforward chapter. No trouble anywhere, no conceptual difficulties you will get or anything. It's just a very simple chapter, right? So these are the topics which we are going to cover today in this lecture number 1 of linear equations in two variables. So let's see that it says that linear equations in two variables, we would be first defining what do we mean by the chapter and how is it we are going to discuss. Apart from that, we would be talking about solution of a linear equation as well. Solution of a linear equation, right? So without wasting any time, let's quickly first understand what is an equation. How is that different from an expression, and how is an identity? So we are going to talk about equation versus expression versus identity. ठीक है, ये तीनों चीजें हमें समझनी है. So first of all, we need to understand what is an expression, right? What is an expression? So if anything which is of the form which consists of variables and coefficients, that's it. You will call it as an expression. That is, when you talk about maybe ax plus by, that's it. This is just an expression. It can also have a cz. This is just an expression. For example, a, b, c are just constant. So you would say, for example, it would be 3x minus 4y. This is just an expression because there is no equal to sign here, right? This is an expression. Now we would also like to understand what is an equation. Now in the expression also, if you change the value of variable, that is if you change the values of x and y, you would come to know that the value of expression is changing. That is, when you put x as 1, y as 1, you would get a different value of x and the expression, whereas when you take different values of x and y, you get different value of the expression. That's how it works. Secondly, we are talking about equation. So what do we mean by equation is when you have ax plus by plus c equal to 0. That is, now this c can be any constant, a and b are also any coefficients, x and y are the variables. This is also of the form like ax plus by equal to k, where again a, b and k are constant, which means when you have an equal to sign and there are two sides of an expression, on the one side you have a constant, on the other side you have some algebraic expression. So in that case we call this as an equation, right? Ax plus by equal to constant. This is a linear equation because why do we call it as a linear equation? Because the degree, the power of the variables here is 1 each, right? So you call it as a linear equation. For example, if you also have a let's say 3-degree equation, so ax cube plus maybe cx plus e equal to 0. So here, now This is just a cubic equation because the degree of this equation is 3. But this is still an equation and not an expression because it has two sides. Two sides, right? This is how it works. Now, the next thing which we have to talk about is an identity, right? So now, what is an identity? How is it different from expression and equation, right? So we would say the first thing which we have to understand about an identity is, let's consider a plus b whole square. What is a plus b whole square? We would say a square plus 2ab plus b square. This is what we have been learning since ages, right? A plus b whole square is a square plus 2ab plus b square. ये हम कब से पढ़ रहे हैं? Now this is an identity. Now how will you say that any expression, because this looks like an equation, right? This looks like an equation. It has an equal to sign, and there are two particular expressions on the other sides, on one side and the other side. So how will you say that this is an equation and not an identity? So in that case, you would say, like, try to expand this. How will you expand this? You would say try to write this as a plus b into a plus b, right? And the right side will remain as it is, a square plus 2ab plus b square. So when you multiply this a plus b into a plus b, what do you get? A into a, which is a square, plus ab plus ba, which is plus 2ab plus b square. This is equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. Now, instead of cancelling out everything and saying you are getting 0 equal to 0, what I am trying to say is just take the a square on the right side to the left side, take the 2ab on the right side to the left side, take the b square on the right side to the left side. So you will get a square minus a square, which is just 0a square, plus 0ab plus 0b square equal to 0. Now this equation, if you call it as an equation, is true for all value of a and b, for all value of a and b. So if, for those who don't know what this symbol is, this symbol is called for all. It is a Greek symbol, right? For all ab. So this equation, which is true for all the variables, is called as an identity. Whereas when you talk about a particular equation, for example, if you talk about um, x x plus 2y is equal to, let's say, 3. So this is true if and only if x is 1, y is 1. So x is equal to 1, y also has to be equal to 1 then, right? It can't have any other value. Are you understanding? But these are also true for some fractional values also. That is when you take maybe x as half and y as maybe some other value, you would get the different values and you would be able to say that, okay, this is also a solution of this equation which satisfied x and y can satisfy. So for example, you can say if x is 0, y is 3 by 2, right? X is 0, y is 3 by 2. This is also a solution. So this can have many solutions, but you can't say that every solution will satisfy. For example, if someone says that if x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, will this satisfy this equation? It will definitely not, because on the left hand side you will get 0, on the right hand side you would get 3, which means x equal to 0, y equal to 0 is not a solution. But for an identity, when you substitute any value of a and b, you would still be able to get an answer. That is, LHS will be equal to RHS, because here if you observe, you are getting 0 equal to 0, right? Here you are getting 0 equal to 0. So that is the difference between expression, equation, and an identity. Expression doesn't have an equal to sign, equation has an equal to sign, where LHS is equal to RHS for a particular value of the variables, whereas in an identity is true for all the value of variables, right? I hope you all are understanding and this is clear. Let's now understand what do we mean by linear equations in two variables. So when we say an equation is said to be a linear equation, as I already said, equation is said to be linear if the degree or if the power of variables, if the degree or the power of variables is 1, the degree or power of variables is 1, right? And if like here the power of x is also 1, the power of y is also 1, right? So ax plus by plus c equal to 0 is a linear equation in two variables. Why two variables? Because again, you would say there are two variables x and y. Simple. So now, when we talk about linear equations in two variables, since they are in two variables, they are supposed to have unique solution, infinite solution, or multiple solutions. So we will come to that, but before that you need to understand that ax plus by plus c equal to 0 is a linear equation, two variable, where a b c are coefficients. A b c are coefficients. A and b are coefficients of x and y. C is a constant, like this. But x and y are the variables, so x and y will keep on changing for the solution, right? For example, 10x plus 4y equal to 3 and minus x plus 5y equal to 2 are linear equations in two variables, right? Now the solution for such a value of such an equation is a pair of values, one for x and one for y, which further makes the two sides of an equation equal. That is what I was saying, that if you consider the equation for now, that is if you consider equation minus x plus 5y equal to 2, so when you say x is equal to 0, your y also equal to 0 will satisfy this, right? Minus x plus 5y equal to 0, x equal to 0, y equal to 0 satisfy, right? So this is a solution of this equation, because one value of x and other value of y make the equations of both the sides equal. So this is how we say linear equations in two variables. This is how we write. Linear means degree 1, two variables means there are two different variables which are varying, right? Now let's move ahead and try to understand solution of a linear equation. What do we mean by solution of a linear equation? So here we are talking about just one equation. Mind well, we are now restricting ourselves to one equation. One equation means it can be anything. For example, if you can see in the graph, it is 5x plus 3y is equal to 30. This is just one equation we are talking about. Now we would say this is of the form of ax plus by plus c equal to 0, because when you take this 30 on the other side, you would get 5x plus 3y minus 30 is equal to 0. Here your a is 5, b is 3, c is minus 30, right? So this is a linear equation in two variables. Now the solution of the linear equation in two variables is a particular point in the graph. What do we mean by it? Which means this line. So first of all, when you try to uh, plot graphically this equation on a graph, so you get a linear equation. You get basically a line always on a graph paper. You always get a line on this graph. So for example, if you have like 5x plus 3y equal to 30, how did we get the line? Because you need to substitute, let's say x is equal to 0, you get y is equal to 10, so you all can see 0 comma 10 is a point, right? When you substitute y is equal to 0, you get x is equal to 6, so you all can see that this is again x is equal to 6 and y equal to 0 is a point. So when you connect these 2 points, you get a straight line. And this is how a graph of a linear equation looks like, right? So a graph of a linear equation looks like a straight line. It looks like a straight line always, right? So you have to remember it very well, that a graph of a linear equation is always a straight line graph, and that is why the word linear has been arrived from, right? I hope you all are understanding. Now it says for a linear equation in two variable there are infinitely many solutions. Yes, there are infinitely many, because we have just here considered only two possible values of x and y, right? We have just considered two possible sets of x and y, but there are many such points on this line many such, or rather we can say there are infinite points on this line which will satisfy this equation. So there are all these points are called as solutions. For example, if someone could say x is equal to 1, so what will be the value of y when you put x equal to 1? So you will get y is equal to 25 upon 3, right? Y is equal to 25. So this is also a solution of the equation, right? So in that case, you would say one equation in two variables will have infinitely many solutions. So you would say what? One equation, two variables. It will have infinite solutions, because every solution means a point on the graph. Every solution means a point on the graph, right? So point on it, there are infinite points on a straight line, right? Because a line can be extended in any direction, right? A line can be extended in any direction, so there are infinite points on it, which means there would be infinite solutions. Perfect. Yes. Let's now move ahead. Right, we have got solution of a linear equation. Now let's move ahead. We'll say let's try to solve a question. Okay. So it says find the value of variables which satisfy the following equation. Now here you are talking about two different equations. Instead of one equation, you are talking about two different equations, which means you now have not just one line but two straight lines, right? So 2x plus 5y is equal to 20, and 3x plus 6y equals to 12. So this can basically have, if these lines are parallel, then they will have no solution, because parallel lines do not meet anywhere, right? If these lines are intersecting, they will have one solution. They can intersect in one common point, right? So it's like parallel lines have no solution because they never meet, right? And here you will say intersecting lines have one solution. Correct. So there are many ways to solve linear equations. So we would say just eliminate and substitute. We would call this method as elimination by substitution. So there are these two equations, name them as 1 and 2. So now multiplying equation 1 by 3 and equation 2 by 2. Why are we doing this? So that the coefficient of x becomes same. So the coefficient of x in both of the equations becomes 6. Now if the coefficient of x becomes same, you can subtract and eliminate x, right? So this method is also known as method of equating coefficients. Method of equating coefficients, right? So now you would say when you subtract this, you get 3y is equal to 36 and y is equal to 12. So now after you have got the value of y, you can substitute in either of the equation 1, 2, 3 or 4, and you would get the value of x. So y is equal to 12 and x is equal to minus 20 is the solution where the given equations, in equations ke case mein you can say given lines intersect. So when you will basically, so what does this x equal to minus 20 and y equal to minus 12 suggest? This suggests your point. This suggests your point of intersection. That is, अगर हमारे पास दो lines हैं, so here the two lines were what? One line was 2x plus 5y is equal to 20, and the other line was 3x plus 6y is equal to 12. Right, 3x plus 6y is equal to 12. When these two lines intersect, they have a common point, and this common point here we have found out to be as minus 20 comma 12. Minus 20 comma 12, right? And how did we get this after solving. How did we get this point? After solving the equations simultaneously, right? After getting the equation simultaneously. So this method was known as method of equating the coefficients, right? So now let's solve one more question. Now this is like a boat question, right? A boat is running downstream and it covers it. What is downstream and what is upstream? It's like that. See, downstream matlab it is going with the flow. Where your river is flowing, it is flowing with the river. Like your boat is in the same direction. Upstream means it is flowing against, the boat is moving against the flow. Upstream, that is upstream. So here a boat is running downstream and covers a distance of 20 kilometers. So it's quite clear that when your boat is running downstream, it means it will have greater speed than it will have upstream, right? It will have greater speed because when it's flowing with the flow of the river, it will also have higher speed because river will also push the boat forward. So both the speeds would be added in that case. So you would say speed downstream speed would be equal to speed of boat plus speed of water, right? Or speed of river or water, you can say. Okay. Whereas upstream speed, so let's say let the speed of boat be u and the speed of river be v. So you would say let speed of boat be u and speed of river bv, right? So when you say downstream speed is u plus v, whereas upstream speed upstream speed is, in this case it would be subtracted, as I was saying, because you're moving against the river, so that would be u minus v. And it says it covers a distance of 20 kilometers in 2 hours. So upstream, we know one important result, that is we have studied this in physics and in lower grades as well we have studied. So we would say that speed is equal to distance upon time. Yes, the speed is equal to distance upon time. So you would say that here your distance is 20 kilometers in downstream. So speed in downstream is u plus v and time in downstream is 2. So you would say u plus v is equal to 10. This is your equation 1. Whereas in downstream, in rather in upstream, the speed is subtracted. So you would say u minus v is equal to same distance. Same distance means 20 kilometers. It takes 5 hours. So therefore u minus v is 4. These are the two equations which we have to solve and get the value of u and v, which means you have to find the what is the speed of the boat in still water. Still water मतलब हमें क्या find करना है? Still water में we have to find speed of boat u. So you would just add these two equations and get the answer for u. So adding equations 1 and 2, what do we get? 2u is equal to 14, which implies u is equal to 7 kilometers per hour. 7 kilometers per hour. Right, this is what it is about. And yeah, we are getting the speed of boat as 7 kilometers per hour. Okay. So let's I hope you all had an understanding of how these things are done. This is like a real life problem, real life application of linear equations and two variables, because if you see, we just learned how to solve these two equations by method of equating coefficients, and we eventually were able to solve a real life challenge, right? If you know how, if you have the data, you can directly get the answer for it, right? So these are a couple of practice questions for you all to try it out. And like one is a quite similar that we did now, that is a boat running problem, and even the other one is you have to just solve the two equations in two variables. Both are linear equations. Now you can use method of equating coefficients or any other method to solve these two problems, and we will be discussing them in our next class. The solutions of these would be discussed. Okay, so hope you all understood what is linear equations, what's the difference between expressions, equations, and identities. Till then, take care, stay safe, and have fun. Goodbye.